Welcome back. You'll never believe this, but you guys are going to be taking some notes today. Yay! Okay, so today we are going to be talking about MLA documentation. If you're in 7th grade, I know this is almost probably 100% new to you. 8th graders, if you had me, we worked on MLA a lot. It's a requirement for me. So make sure you fill out your table of contents with MLA documentation. Go to those 2 next pages in your ISN and let's get those labeled. Once you are ready to go, then go ahead and come on back and we'll start taking some notes. Okay, welcome back. So you guys should have already done this, but I want both pages should have today's date, whichever day you are taking the notes. And then here's what you're putting up at the top. MLA documentation. MLA documentation. And remember, so I put it on both pages, okay? Don't forget to do that. I don't know if it's auto-focusing or not. Okay, so today you don't need any foldables, but we are going to be using both pages, okay? So just be ready for that. So first thing that I want you to understand is what MLA means. So MLA stands for Modern Language Association. Okay, so this is a group of people. It's an association that basically makes all the rules that people that are documenting English information needs to follow, okay? And when it comes to MLA, when I'm talking about like documentation and things like that, I'm meaning citations. Okay, I don't know if you've heard the term citations before, but unless your parents are like really like amazingly awesome drivers, if your parents, I mean, because it's not like I've ever done it because I would never speed and get a ticket. I have a little bit of a lead foot. That's a false information. They've most likely gotten a citation. It's normally called a moving violation, but it's called a citation. Because what a citation is a record of something. Okay, so when we fill out behavior notices or detention slips, those are all citations. Okay, it's a record of something. Show where we get information. If you think about it, if you get a detention, we list the time, or we don't list time. We list the date, we list which class you were in, we list what assignment you're missing, or what you did to get that detention, all of that. All of that stuff's done. So it's a record of whatever to show where we got this information. So it explains to your parents or to Mrs. McLaughlin, like, why did you get written up? It's a record. It shows why, okay? The reason why we do this is what we are trying to avoid something called, and I cannot spell this word. I have to look it up every single time. We are trying to avoid plagiarism. This is an R, okay? We are trying to avoid plagiarism. Now, at this age, most of the time when you guys plagiarize, you're doing it on accident. You're not 100% sure on how not to plagiarize. So one of the things that I really work with you on in 7th and 8th grade is learning not to plagiarize, because when you go into high school, this becomes a huge deal, you guys. You can get a 0 without being able to make things up if you plagiarize. In college, you can get kicked out of college for plagiarizing. Like, it's a big deal, plagiarism. You're technically breaking the law when you plagiarize. So this is when you use, so using this is work as your own. And this includes words. Like, you can't copy straight off the internet and put it into a paper. You can't do any of that because you're plagiarizing. Those aren't your ideas. Those aren't your words. Okay? So the big thing that you need to understand is that you quote my handwriting is not looking so pretty today. When you quote a piece of text, you must make a citation. And obviously, I expect it to be an MLA. Here is my heads up, though. Okay, my guess is in junior high at Rankin School, if Mrs. Galletti or Mr. Fuller ask you to write and you use MLA, they're going to take it, okay? But when you guys get to the high school, it's going to be a little slightly different, okay, you guys? The high school MLA, so I'm going back up here. MLA, I'm actually going to change colors too, is for English class only. Okay, MLA is not used in science. It is not used in social studies. It's only used in English class. So you'll use most likely something else that's called APA, which is the American Psychiatric Association. And they have a completely different set of rules, okay? But here's the thing. I'm an English teacher. I was an English major. I actually had to juggle both MLA and APA in college. So like if it was my English classes, I had to use MLA. If it was my education classes on how to be a teacher, I had to use APA. And they're pretty different. So got to be careful. But so I want you to understand that what I'm teaching you today is only for English class. Don't try next year if you're an 8th grader to use MLA in science or social studies unless they tell you to. Okay? Okay, so there are two kinds of citations. There's an in-text citation which can also be called a parenthetical. Citation, okay? When you get older, they might call them parenthetical. So I like to give you both words just in case somebody else is using parenthetical, you know it means the same thing as in text. The other kind of citation is a works cited page. Which may also be called a bibliography. Bibliography, that term has kind of gone out of style. Most of the time, they call it a works cited page. This one you won't hear nearly as often. Okay, we're going to start with the works cited page. Okay, so here's some pieces of information that you need to know about the works cited page. It's on its own page. Oops. So that means when you're done typing an essay, you will go to the next page to your works cited page. There cannot be anything but works cited page on a page. None of your essay can be on the page that's your works cited page, okay? Second thing, you have to title this page. So at the very top, you're going to type the words works cited. That's it, 2 words. But I want you to note the W is capital and so's the C. Okay, so those get capitalized, they also get centered. Okay, I'll walk you through it in your first essay. Okay, so next, I want you to understand that this is still double spaced. So everything is double spaced from the moment you start typing your name on your essay. Everything is double spaced, including the works cited page. Okay, so here we go. Here's what a citation for a works cited page looks like. Okay, you're going to start with the author's last name. Okay, now punctuation is extremely important when it comes to MLA documentation, any kind of documentation. APA is just as picky. So after you write the author's last name, you're going to put a comma, and then it's going to be their first name. Then you're going to put a period. Okay? Then you're going to give me the title. If you're writing it like in pen, like we are right now, you underline it, and there's going to be a period. But here's what I need you to understand. When you type it, okay, I want to make sure you understand that your title, when you type this, it needs to be italicized, which is that I, so it slants everything, okay? Okay, so listen, when I run out of room, well, I haven't yet. After this period, the next thing is going to be the publisher. I'm going to show you how to find the publisher, okay? So publisher, and then we're going to have a comma. Now here's the deal. When we're writing, obviously this takes up a lot more space. Part of it is I wrote out author's last name. Normally that's just going to take up the space of, the last name. So we take up more space when we're writing. If when you are writing or typing, your citation goes onto a second line, the second line has to be indented. Okay, so after the publisher is going to come the copyright date. Okay, then you're going to put another comma. No, you're not. You're going to put a period. Ignore me, period. And then the word print, unless you got this from the internet. If you actually use the internet to look this up, that's when you would put web here. I'll tell you when that works. Okay, so I want you guys to jot down a couple of extra notes off to the side. I want you to remember to indent your second line. Okay. I also want you to remember that punctuation placement is very important. Okay? Very important. So now we are going to practice. So I'm going to show you with a book that I'm just going to grab off my bookshelf right behind me. And we're going to do Hunger Games. Okay, so I just pulled it off my shelf. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to walk through, so then you can see where things are found. Okay, so if you look at your notes at the bottom of that page, down here, so we're going to be looking at this, okay, to create one for Hunger Games. Okay, so I'm going to look here. I've got an author's last name is Collins. So over here, I'm going to write Collins. Okay, then if I look at my notes, it says after the last name, I have to put a comma. Okay, my author's first name is Suzanne, so I'm going to write that. You guys notice that I'm not capitalizing every letter of their name, even though it is here, because I'm going to write it like it's supposed to be written. So after Suzanne, I'm going to put a period. Then I have the title. The title is The Hunger Games. Okay, got to remember the. So I'm writing The Hunger Games. Now because I'm writing this, I'm going to underline it. And then I'm going to put my period. Okay, so the next thing I'm supposed to find is the publisher. So here is my tip. Okay, so this is the title page. So if you look, we have this one. Okay, we got this page, and then we go to the next one, and it's more of a title page. Down at the bottom, most of the time it's down here, but on this book, it's over here. It tells you the publisher right here, Scholastic Inc. Okay, it also tells you the publisher right here. So if you guys look, it's the next page. So it says published by Scholastic Inc. Okay, so I'm going to put, now look, I don't have room for Scholastic Inc. over here, so I'm going to come and I'm going to indent. And I'm going to write Scholastic Inc. Now ink's got a period after it, so I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to put a comma after that because we put a comma after our publisher. Okay, so the next job is to find the copyright. Okay, copyright is right here. So it says copyright 2008. Now you got to be careful. You got to make sure that you pick the copyright for the publisher, okay? Because when you guys get into books like Call of the Wild, I have two separate, actually I think I have 3 different copies of the book now. So I need you to make sure that you have the correct publisher and copyright year, because things fall on different pages for different publishers. Same with Lord of the Flies. I think I've got 3 different books for Lord of the Flies. So they're going to have different publishers and they're going to have different copyrights sometimes. So this one was copyright in 2008. So 2008, period. This is a physical book, so I'm writing print. Okay, and that is it. Okay, so that is where you find everything. Do I expect you guys to get that right the very first time? No, but I will give you feedback on your very first time you have to do it so that you guys can figure it out. Here's something else I need you to understand. If you have more than one source, you need to alphabetize them. Okay, so if you have more than one source, so eventually as the year goes on, I'll make you cite both the novel and an article. So those will be more than one source, which means that you have to look at that first word. Sometimes it'll be, most of the time it'll be the author's last name. Every once in a while it ends up being the title, okay? If there's no author listed, okay? So that's works cited pages. So now we're going to do in-text citations. Okay, so an in-text citation, they go after every quote. Okay, every quote. If you do not have an in-text citation, you're plagiarizing because you are not giving credit to who said whatever you're quoting. Okay, so here's our example. We're going to do, I'm taking it out of the giver. Okay, so here is how this works. Okay, first, the way that I know that this is a quote is you have to put quotation marks around it. Okay, so you're going to put quotation marks around the direct quote. So you can see I have the quotation mark at the beginning and I have a quotation mark at the end. That tells me that these words in between are not your own. You took them from somewhere. Okay, so here's what I need you to understand. If you look at the end of this sentence, do you see where sister is? There is no punctuation. Okay, do not put a period there. Okay. There is no space here. So I would, when I'm typing, I would put R and then the quotation mark, no space between it. There is a space here. Okay, so you're going to go quotation mark, space, parentheses. Okay, now look here. Here's our author's last name, and this is the author's last name. Not a character's. Okay, this is not a character's name. This should be the author's last name. So then if you look here, there's a space, but no comma. For some odd reason, kids want to put a comma there. There's just a space, no comma. Okay? And then this is where your end punctuation goes. Okay, once again, when you guys are doing this to begin with, I don't expect you guys to do this perfectly. I'll give you feedback and explain to you what you're doing wrong and how to fix it. Okay? So that is MLA documentation. So I'll be looking at your notes when you guys come into class, and I will see you guys later.